Something changed in the South China Sea in April 2026. A massive warship quietly left its berth in Shanghai and sailed south. No fanfare, no dramatic announcement. Just a gray hull cutting through the water, heading toward one of the most contested stretches of ocean on Earth. That ship was the Sichuan, and if you've never heard of it, that's about to change. Because what the Sichuan represents is arguably the single biggest shift in naval warfare since aircraft carriers replaced battleships a century ago. This is China's Type 076, and the United States Navy is watching it very, very carefully. To understand why the Type 076 matters, you need to understand a fundamental problem that has defined naval warfare for the past 80 years. Aircraft carriers are the most powerful weapons ever built. A single American carrier strike group can project more air power than most countries have in their entire air force. When a US president needs to send a message anywhere in the world, the first question is always, where are the carriers? But carriers have a critical weakness. They are enormous, they are expensive, and in an era of hypersonic missiles and long-range anti-ship weapons, they are increasingly vulnerable. A ship that costs $13 billion and takes a decade to build is a target. A very big, very slow, very expensive target. This is the dilemma the United States has been grappling with for years. How do you maintain naval dominance in the Pacific when your assets are also your most exposed? China looked at that dilemma and built a different kind of answer. The Sichuan is officially classified as an amphibious assault ship, designed to transport Marines, landing craft, and helicopters to storm a beach. The United States has similar ships, the America class and the Wasp class. But the Sichuan is not like any amphibious assault ship ever built. At over 40,000 tons and approximately 260 meters in length, it is roughly the same size as a World War II fleet carrier. It has a full-length flight deck. It has 2 massive aircraft elevators. It has a well deck in the stern for deploying landing craft. And it carries something no other amphibious assault ship in the world has ever carried: an electromagnetic aircraft launch system, EMALS. Until recently, only one country on Earth had managed to install functional electromagnetic catapults on a warship at sea: the United States. The technology is extraordinarily complex. The Ford program struggled with it for nearly a decade. China did it on an amphibious assault ship. Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe for more. Nothing stays hidden. Everything gets decoded. Think about what that means. The Sichuan can now launch fixed-wing aircraft, not just helicopters, not just jump jets, at sea. It can catapult aircraft off its deck just like a full-sized aircraft carrier. And the aircraft it intends to launch are not conventional fighter jets. They are drones. The GJ-21 is China's answer to a question no Navy had previously asked. What if your primary strike aircraft had no pilot? A derivative of the GJ-11, known in Western intelligence circles as the Sharp Sword, the GJ-21 is a flying-wing stealth unmanned combat aerial vehicle specifically modified for carrier operations. It has a launch bar on its landing gear for catapult launches. It has an arresting hook for carrier landings. And it has a radar cross-section small enough to make detection at range extremely difficult. Images surfaced in January 2026 showing a GJ-21 mock-up positioned directly on the Sichuan's electromagnetic catapult. That was not an accident, that was a message. The implications are staggering. A drone launched from an electromagnetic catapult carries more fuel, more weapons, and greater range than a drone launched by any other means. It can fly longer missions, hit harder targets, and operate in contested environments that would be suicidal for a manned aircraft. And because it has no pilot, the calculus of risk changes entirely. You can send a GJ-21 into a heavily defended zone, into the teeth of American air defenses, into range of Patriot batteries and F-35s, and if it gets shot down, you lose hardware, not a human being, not a pilot who might be captured, whose story might appear on the evening news, whose death might shift public opinion. In the mathematics of modern warfare, that changes everything. But the Type 076 is not just a drone carrier. That's where its genius, and its danger, truly lies. In any conventional military operation, you face a sequencing problem. Before you can land troops on a beach, you need to establish air superiority. Before you establish air superiority, you need to suppress enemy air defenses. Before you suppress those defenses, you need real-time intelligence. Historically, these functions required different assets: surveillance aircraft, strike aircraft, troop transports. Coordination between all of them. That coordination takes time, creates vulnerabilities, and demands an enormous logistical tail. The Sichuan does all of it from a single hull. Nothing stays hidden. Everything gets decoded. In a contested scenario, a Chinese operation in the South China Sea, or a hypothetical move toward Taiwan, the Type 076 could simultaneously launch GJ-21 stealth drones for deep reconnaissance, mapping enemy radar positions. Those same drones could then transition to electronic warfare mode, jamming communications, disrupting targeting systems, blinding the defender. Then, under that drone umbrella, conventional strike packages follow, and beneath the entire operation, landing craft are already deploying from the well deck, hitting the beach while the enemy is still trying to figure out where the attack is coming from. This is what military planners call multi-domain operations. The ability to fight across air, sea, land, and electronic domains simultaneously with a single integrated force. The United States has been developing this doctrine for years. The Type 076 embeds it in steel. Now let's talk about what the United States actually has to counter this. The America-class LHAs, America, Tripoli, Bougainville, are impressive ships. They displace around 45,000 tons. They carry F-35B jump jets, which are stealth-capable. They carry dozens of helicopters and tiltrotors. They are genuine power projection platforms. But they do not have catapults. They rely on short takeoff, vertical landing, STOVL operations. That limits the weight of the aircraft they can launch, and therefore limits the range and payload of their strike capability. An F-35B flying off an America-class LHA cannot carry the same weapons load as an F-35C flying off a Gerald R. Ford-class carrier. In the world of naval engineering, physics don't negotiate. More critically, the United States has no comparable answer in the amphibious assault category. American doctrine separates the functions that China has now merged. Carriers do one thing, amphibious ships do another. The idea of a ship that bridges those functions, that can launch stealth drones from an electromagnetic catapult while simultaneously deploying marine landing forces, simply does not exist in the US fleet today. This is not a theoretical gap. It is a real, present capability asymmetry, and the US Navy knows it. Since images of the Type 076 began circulating, American defense analysts have been publishing increasingly urgent assessments. The Center for Strategic and International Studies called it a paradigm shift. The Naval War College highlighted the EMALS capability as a strategic surprise. Congressional testimony in early 2026 specifically cited the Type 076 as a development that demands a doctrinal response. There is a geographic dimension to all of this that makes the threat even more acute. The South China Sea is not a neutral body of water. It is the corridor through which approximately $5 trillion of global trade passes every year. It contains some of the most contested territorial claims in the world. The Spratly Islands, the Paracel Islands, features that China, Vietnam, the Philippines, Taiwan, and Malaysia all claim in varying degrees. China has spent the past decade transforming reefs and sandbars into military installations. Artificial islands with runways, radar stations, missile batteries. A network of forward positions designed to extend China's defensive perimeter and to establish facts on the ground. Before any international dispute can be resolved. The Type 076 is the mobile component of that strategy. The artificial islands are fixed nodes in a network. The Sichuan and the Type 076 that will follow it are the moving pieces. Together, they give China the ability to project sustained military power across the entire South China Sea in ways that were impossible just 5 years ago. For the Philippines, which has a mutual defense treaty with the United States, this is a direct concern. For Vietnam, which has been pushing back against Chinese incursions near the Spratlys, this is a direct concern. For Taiwan, which sits at the northern end of this entire strategic picture, this is a direct concern. Let's be clear about one thing. The Sichuan is not operational yet. As of May 2026, it is still in trials. Its EMALS system is being tested. Its drone integration workflows are being validated. The ship is not yet assigned to a combat fleet. But here is the critical point. China has crossed the threshold. The technology exists. It is in the water. It is being tested. And if history is any guide, the Type 055 destroyer, the J-20 stealth fighter, hypersonic missiles, operational capability will follow. Probably faster than Western analysts are comfortable admitting. The Type 076 is not just a new warship. It is a proof of concept. It represents the convergence of unmanned combat systems, precision-guided weapons, and China's accelerating naval power projection. The rules of naval warfare just changed. The Sichuan left Shanghai. It is sailing south, and the ship it represents is not the last of its kind. It is the first. That is why the U.S. Navy is watching. That is why this matters. The weapon the U.S. Navy feared most is no longer a concept. It is real, it is in the water, and it is only getting started.